Ladies and gentlemen, let me start with this. Success is not something you chase, it's something you attract by the person you become. And if you don't understand that, you'll spend your whole life grinding in the wrong direction, trying to catch what was meant to be drawn to you. Now, let's get one thing straight. The law of attraction is not magic. It's not wishful thinking. It's not just vision boards and journaling. It is a principle of alignment. What you consistently think, say, and do becomes a magnetic force. If you're attracting struggle, scarcity, and stress, there's something out of alignment. Most people live their entire lives chasing things they never clearly defined. They say they want success, but when you ask them what success looks like to them, they hesitate, they fumble, they generalize. I just want to be happy. I want more money. I want freedom. But here's the problem with that. The universe doesn't respond to confusion. God doesn't bless vague vision. If you don't know exactly what you're aiming for, how do you expect to hit the target? Clarity is not optional. It's foundational. It is the very first step in attracting success. Clarity creates magnetism. The clearer the picture, the stronger the pull. When you walk into a dark room and try to find your way around, what do you do first? You reach for the light, because once you see what's in the room, you know where to step. The same is true with life. When your goals are unclear, every option looks tempting. Every path seems like it could work. You become distracted, double-minded, and the scripture says a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. You hesitate, you second-guess, you start and stop. Clarity eliminates that instability. It gives you the courage to say no to distractions because you already know what a yes looks like. Let me break this down further. When you define what success means to you, you give your subconscious mind a command. Your thoughts begin to filter information differently. You begin to notice things, people, and opportunities you would have missed before. It's not that they weren't there, it's that your mind wasn't told to look for them. You weren't calibrated to them. Clarity recalibrates your mind to find what aligns with your vision. Just like a GPS system won't give you directions until you enter a destination, your life won't organize itself until you define your destination. Now, clarity isn't just about knowing what you want. It's also about knowing why you want it. Because when your what and your why line up, your energy becomes unstoppable. You can endure setbacks. You can ignore criticism. You can delay gratification. Why? Because you're not guessing anymore. You've decided, and that decision becomes power. Think about the word decide. It comes from the Latin decidere, which means to cut off. When you decide clearly what you want, you cut off everything that doesn't align with it. That's magnetic, that's powerful, that's attractive. Some people say, well, I'm just keeping my options open. But let me tell you something. People who keep all their options open usually don't make progress. Why? Because success doesn't come to people who dabble. Success comes to people who commit. Clarity leads to commitment, and commitment attracts results. The moment you get serious about your vision, the right people start showing up. The right resources begin to surface. The doors that were closed before suddenly begin to open, not because they weren't there, but because you weren't clear enough to see them. And don't confuse being busy with being clear. A lot of people are busy doing things that don't move them closer to their goals. Busyness is not a badge of honor. It's often a sign of a blurry vision. You'll never attract what you want by doing everything. You'll attract what you want by doing the right things with laser focus. And the only way to know what the right things are is to be crystal clear on your desired outcome. Clarity also gives your actions a magnetic rhythm. When you act in alignment with a clear goal, your energy shifts. People notice it. Your confidence rises. Your communication sharpens. Your presence becomes more powerful. You're no longer throwing darts in the dark hoping to hit something. You're locked in. That kind of focused, deliberate movement becomes attractive. Clients notice. Opportunities notice. Investors notice. Even your family and friends start to treat you differently, not because you've changed who you are, but because you've finally decided where you're going. Belief is the bridge between desire and manifestation. You can want success with every fiber of your being, but if deep down you don't believe you're worthy of it, capable of it, or ready for it, you'll repel the very thing you say you want. Belief is not just a feeling, it is a spiritual and psychological agreement with your future. Until you come into agreement with success internally, you will find ways to sabotage it externally. And it won't feel like sabotage. It will feel like bad timing or bad luck or not the right opportunity, when in reality, it's your inner beliefs rejecting what your mouth keeps asking for. The law of attraction doesn't respond to begging. It doesn't respond to desperation. It responds to belief. Belief is what sets the thermostat for your life. If your belief is set at 60 degrees and success tries to show up at 90 degrees, you will unconsciously find a way to cool it down. You'll misplace the contact. You'll delay the project. You'll procrastinate just long enough to miss the window, not because you didn't want the opportunity, but because the inner thermostat of your belief system couldn't handle the heat. It wasn't set for success, it was set for survival. Let's get practical. What do you believe about money? What do you believe about success? What do you believe about people who have influence, power, or wealth? Because if you secretly resent or mistrust successful people, you will not become one of them. You cannot attract what you judge. If you grew up hearing phrases like money doesn't grow on trees, or rich people are greedy, or you have to struggle to be spiritual, those phrases didn't just go in one ear and out the other. They went into your subconscious and built belief systems. And those beliefs are still running your life, even if you're unaware of them. Belief is not just what you say out loud, it's what you accept as true in your core. You can affirm success every morning and still believe failure is your destiny. That's why this work is deeper than surface level affirmations. It requires an intentional rewiring of the mind. You have to confront the lies you've been living with and replace them with truth. Truth like, I am worthy. Truth like, there is more than enough. Truth like, I am called to abundance, not lack. Until you install new beliefs, your reality won't change, because your external life is always a reflection of your internal agreement. And understand this, belief shapes behavior. What you believe determines how you show up in the world. If you believe you are valuable, you'll stop underselling yourself. If you believe your time matters, you'll stop wasting it on people and tasks that drain your purpose. If you believe you are called to lead, you'll stop waiting for someone else to validate your voice. Everything changes when your belief shifts. You speak differently, you walk differently, you approach problems differently, you attract different people, because belief changes your frequency, and energy doesn't lie. Belief also affects persistence. When challenges come, and they will, it's belief that keeps you in the game. People with weak belief quit when it gets hard. People with strong belief push through, not because it's easy, but because they know on a soul level that the result is already theirs. They aren't hoping it will happen, they know it must happen. That kind of knowing is rare, and it's powerful. It makes you relentless. It makes you magnetic. It makes you a person who doesn't just wish for success, but attracts it, because you've already accepted it as your truth. Belief is not a one-time decision, it's a daily practice. It's choosing every day to agree with the version of you that already has what you desire. It's silencing the voice that says, who do you think you are? And answering back with certainty, I am the one who was built for this. Belief is the foundation that holds the entire structure of success. Without it, everything you build will eventually collapse under the weight of your doubt. But with it, you become unshakable. You become a magnet for every good thing that is aligned with your purpose. Words are not just sound waves in the air, they are creative forces that shape the very reality you live in. What you say consistently becomes what you see eventually. There's a reason why every major spiritual tradition, every book of wisdom, every teacher of truth emphasizes the power of the tongue, because your words don't just describe your life, they direct it. If you speak fear, you walk in fear. If you speak favor, you begin to move in alignment with it. Most people are living in the harvest of words they sowed yesterday, last year, or 10 years ago, and they have no idea how much power they've given away with their own mouth. The law of attraction responds to what you emit, and one of the most powerful emitters of energy is language. The words you speak carry vibration, intention. When you speak with doubt, with uncertainty, or with lack, you send out a signal that repels success. But when you speak with faith, authority, and clarity, you send a signal that draws what you desire toward you. It's not magic, it's alignment. Your words must be in agreement with the vision you claim to believe in. If your mouth keeps canceling out what your mind is trying to manifest, the result will always be frustration. People wonder why they keep attracting toxic relationships, small opportunities, or constant setbacks, but they don't realize their speech patterns have become a declaration of limitation. They say things like, "Nothing ever works out for me," or "That's just my luck," or "I'm not good at that," and they think they're just being realistic. But what they're actually doing is writing the script of their future with every sentence. You cannot expect to live a life of breakthrough if you're constantly prophesying breakdown. You can't affirm failure all week and then wonder why success feels so far away. Your words are instructions, and the universe is always listening. And this isn't just about positive thinking, it's about prophetic speaking. When you speak in alignment with your vision, you begin to condition your mind and body to expect what you desire. If you keep saying, "I am overwhelmed," your nervous system will begin to look for evidence to confirm that statement. If you say, "I always find a way," your mind will begin to scan for solutions instead of problems. Your language sets the focus, and your focus determines your outcome. Speak confusion, and you'll live in chaos. Speak peace, and your mind will organize itself to find it. It's not just what you say out loud either. It's what you say to yourself when no one is listening. Your internal dialogue is often even more powerful than your external conversation. If your self-talk is filled with criticism, doubt, and self-sabotage, you're reinforcing a belief system that attracts struggle. But if your self-talk is filled with encouragement, identity, and vision, you're building a belief system that attracts expansion. You become what you consistently hear, and sometimes the most important voice you'll ever hear is your own. That's why it's not enough to speak powerfully once. You have to create a habit of speaking life daily. Speak it when you feel it, and speak it when you don't. Speak it when things are going your way and when they're not. Because your words are not just a reflection of your reality, they are a declaration of what reality must become. Words create atmosphere. Words set expectation. Words establish identity. The more you speak in alignment with your highest vision, the more you raise your frequency to match what you're asking for. Your words will either be your weapon or your weakness. They will either build your future or betray it. Every time you speak, ask yourself, am I speaking in alignment with the life I say I want? Or am I speaking against it without even realizing it? Because once you become conscious of the creative power of your words, you won't speak out of frustration anymore. You'll speak out of intention. You'll learn to speak not according to what you see, but according to what you are creating. In a world that glorifies hustle, it's easy to believe that working harder is always the answer. Grind culture teaches that if you're not exhausted, you're not serious. That if you want to succeed, you have to sacrifice everything else and burn the candle at both ends. But the truth is, hustle without alignment leads to burnout, frustration, and stagnation. Alignment is not about doing less. It's about doing what matters. It's about making sure that your values, vision, and actions are all moving in the same direction. When you're in alignment, your work has purpose. Your steps have power. Your energy multiplies because it's being channeled correctly. Most people are not failing because they're lazy. They're failing because they're out of sync. They're working hard on the wrong things. They're investing time, effort, and energy into goals they never really chose, dreams that don't truly fulfill them, or strategies that don't fit who they are. And the more they push, the more resistance they feel. That's not always a sign to grind harder. It's often a signal to realign. When something feels heavy all the time, when everything feels like a battle, that's not always a challenge to overcome. Sometimes it's an invitation to examine whether you're moving in the right direction to begin with. Alignment brings clarity. When your internal world, your beliefs, your motives, your desires matches your external actions, there is flow. You wake up with focus. You make decisions with peace. You speak with conviction. You move with confidence because you're not second-guessing yourself every step of the way. But when there's misalignment, you feel it. You hesitate, you procrastinate, you sabotage your own progress, not because you're weak or incapable, but because your soul is resisting a direction that doesn't match your design. When you are aligned, the right actions come naturally. You don't have to force them. That doesn't mean everything is easy, but it does mean that even the hard things feel worthwhile. There's a difference between exhaustion from meaningless effort and fatigue from meaningful progress. One drains you, the other builds you. Hustle without alignment is like running on a treadmill. You move a lot, but get nowhere. Alignment turns that treadmill into a track that leads you somewhere significant. Alignment also increases discernment. You begin to recognize what is for you and what is not. You stop saying yes to everything and start saying yes only to what fits your calling. You stop trying to please everyone and start pleasing purpose. You become more selective with your time, more protective of your energy, and more intentional with your decision. That kind of clarity is powerful. It simplifies life. It eliminates the unnecessary and magnifies the essential. You stop trying to do everything and focus on doing the right things well. People who operate in alignment often appear calm while achieving more. That's not because they're lucky. It's because they've learned that success is not about how much you do, but how aligned you are while doing it. They move with precision. They attract the right partners, the right opportunities, the right ideas, because their energy is not scattered, it's focused. They're not hustling for approval or validation, they're operating from identity. And identity is the most powerful position you can lead from. There's also a spiritual component to alignment. When you align with divine purpose, doors open that no amount of hustle could force open. Timing works in your favor. Resources begin to flow. People show up that you couldn't have planned for. That's not coincidence, it's alignment. It's what happens when you stop trying to control everything and start trusting that you were designed for something specific. That design comes with a blueprint, and that blueprint leads to results when followed faithfully. Hustle can create momentum, but alignment sustains it. Gratitude is one of the most underestimated forces in the process of attracting success. Most people think gratitude is just a nice emotion, something polite people practice at the dinner table or something to express during holidays. But gratitude is a frequency, a state of being that aligns you with abundance. When you are truly grateful, you are sending a clear signal that says, I recognize the good that is already in my life, and I am open to receiving more. That signal creates a powerful magnetic field. Gratitude doesn't just change your mood, it changes your magnetism. Most people spend the majority of their time focusing on what they don't have, what's not working, and what hasn't shown up yet. They think that by complaining or obsessing over lack, they'll somehow force a breakthrough. But the law of attraction doesn't respond to desperation. It responds to expectation. When your focus is on lack, you amplify lack. When your focus is on blessings, even the small ones, you multiply them. Gratitude doesn't ignore challenges. It overrides them. It changes the lens through which you interpret your circumstances, and that shift in perception creates new possibilities. Gratitude brings you into the present moment, and the present is the only place where power resides. When you are grateful, you are not stuck in anxiety about the future or regret about the past. You are grounded in now, and now is where decisions are made, actions are taken, and success begins. So many people live their lives saying, I'll be grateful when. I'll be grateful when I get the raise, when I find the right partner, when I hit the goal. But that thinking delays what you're trying to attract. Gratitude isn't the result of having what you want. It's the prerequisite. When you express gratitude in advance, you step into a higher dimension of faith. You begin to live from the assumption that what you desire is already yours, and that assumption shifts everything. You walk differently. You speak with more conviction. You take bolder steps. Not because you're pretending, but because you've made a decision to believe. Gratitude in advance is not denial, it's alignment. It's not about ignoring reality, it's about choosing which part of reality you want to magnify. And whatever you magnify, you multiply. Gratitude also rewires your brain. Neuroscience confirms that the regular practice of gratitude increases dopamine and serotonin, those feel-good chemicals that improve mood and boost resilience. But more than that, gratitude literally reshapes your thought pattern. Your mind becomes trained to search for what's good, for what's working, for what's possible. You begin to notice opportunities more easily. You become more resourceful. You bounce back faster from setbacks. Gratitude doesn't just make you feel better. It makes you better equipped for success. Gratitude increases relational capital. People are drawn to those who carry a spirit of appreciation. No one wants to be around someone who constantly complains or finds fault in everything. But people will go out of their way to help, serve, and support someone who acknowledges value, recognizes effort, and uplifts others. Gratitude creates goodwill. It builds bridges. It makes you magnetic in business, in leadership, and in life. Opportunities flow more freely to those who practice appreciation, not because of luck, but because they create an environment where success wants to land. Gratitude also breaks the cycle of entitlement. When you live entitled, you repel blessing because you're not stewarding what you already have. But when you live grateful, you multiply what's in your hand, even if it's small, even if it's not ideal. When you're grateful, you activate the law of increase. You position yourself to receive more, not by force, but by favor. Gratitude turns every obstacle into a lesson, every delay into preparation, every inconvenience into an opportunity to grow. It reframes every situation and aligns your heart with expansion rather than contraction. Success flows most easily to those who take consistent, bold action. The law of attraction is not a passive principle. It is deeply tied to movement. You cannot sit in your room, visualize success, and expect it to land in your lap without lifting a finger. Visualization sets the tone. Belief creates the foundation. But it is action that opens the door. Too many people get stuck in the phase of dreaming, planning, and waiting for the right time. They prepare, analyze, strategize, but they never execute. And the universe does not reward intention alone. It rewards initiative. Action creates evidence. When you act, you send a message that says you're serious. You're not just wishing, you're working. You're not just talking about it, you're moving toward it. And when you move, resources begin to move toward you. Doors that seemed closed begin to unlock. People who can help you begin to show up. Circumstances that looked impossible begin to bend in your favor. But none of that happens until you act. You don't have to know every step, but you do have to take the first one. That first step tells your mind, your body, and the universe that you're committed. There is power in imperfect action. One of the greatest lies that keeps people stuck is the belief that they have to have it all figured out before they begin. That's a recipe for paralysis. You don't need the full blueprint to start building. The clarity you're waiting for often comes through motion. When you take action, you learn. When you move, you grow. Even failure becomes fuel when you're in motion. But if you wait for certainty, you'll miss your moment. Movement is often the activator of momentum. And momentum is the secret sauce behind every major success story. Bold action also reprograms fear. Fear feeds on inactivity. The longer you wait, the louder it gets. But when you take action in spite of fear, you shrink its power. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's the decision to move through it. When you start taking risks, even small ones, your capacity expands. You start trusting yourself more. You develop grit. You realize that most of the things you feared weren't as powerful as you thought. Action builds confidence, and confidence multiplies opportunity. Boldness is not recklessness. It's the willingness to move forward with faith, even when the outcome isn't guaranteed. It's doing what's required, even when it's uncomfortable. It's showing up to the meeting, making the phone call, starting the project, launching the idea, not because you know everything will work out, but because you refuse to stay stuck. The people who create extraordinary results are not always the smartest or the most talented. They're simply the ones who take more action, more often, with greater intensity and consistency. Action also activates your identity. Every time you take aligned action, you reinforce the truth of who you are. You stop being a person who waits and start being a person who leads. You stop being someone who talks and start being someone who builds. You no longer identify with struggle, delay, or indecision. You identify with movement, creation, and results. Your self-concept evolves with every step you take, and that evolution changes what you believe is possible. Execution separates dreamers from achievers. Plenty of people have great ideas, big visions, and powerful intentions, but only a few back them up with daily, disciplined effort. You don't have to be the loudest voice in the room or the most charismatic leader to attract success. You just have to be the one who shows up again and again, even when it's hard, even when it's inconvenient, even when no one is watching, because consistent action compounds. It builds trust, it creates momentum, and over time it manifests results that look like breakthroughs to others, but are actually the byproduct of persistence. Success is not something you chase, it's something you align with. When your thoughts are focused, your beliefs are strong, your words are intentional, your actions are bold, your heart is grateful, and your purpose is in alignment, success begins to pursue you. The law of attraction isn't about wishful thinking. It's about becoming the kind of person who naturally attracts the life you were designed for. You are not here to struggle, settle, or survive. You are here to expand, to create, to lead, and to overflow. The life you desire is not a fantasy. It's a reflection of your potential. And as you begin to think higher, believe deeper, speak with clarity, align your energy, practice gratitude, and move with purpose, success will no longer be a distant dream. It will become your new normal.